So here's the kicker. Nobody has ever been able to tell me why I lost my teeth at age 26. Why, when I grew up in the same house with my older brother and my younger sister, had the same diet, the same hygiene routine, the same access to care, why I was the one that had a mouthful of cavities, why my teeth were sensitive as far back as I can remember. Drinking things that were too hot or too cold would hurt my mouth. Brushing my teeth hurt. My mouth was just overly sensitive and theirs wasn't. What was the difference? Nobody can tell me that. That seems to be the case for a lot of people. Why, with each pregnancy that I had, was I losing more teeth? Was the decay spreading like wildfire when I was pregnant? Yet people still deny that pregnancy has anything to do with tooth loss and tooth decay. My mom had really bad teeth. She had a lot of cavities. My dad, his teeth were just amazing. They were straight, they were white, there was never a cavity. It wasn't until he was in his 60s that he lost his teeth to periodontal disease. My brother and sister seem to follow after my dad when it comes to their teeth. I tend to follow after my mom, but we still deny that there's any kind of genetic factor associated with bad teeth, with tooth decay and tooth loss. I got my first gray hair at age 23. And my sister, she didn't get gray hairs until later. Why do some people need glasses? Because their eyes are not that great, but other people go their entire life never needing glasses. Why is that? Because everybody's body is different. But we're still saying that if you want to keep your teeth, then you just have to make sure that you brush them twice a day and floss and go to your regular checkups with the dentist. And I'm not saying that that's bad advice. It's great advice. That's a good start. But that is not going to account for why so many people are still, even after doing all of those things, losing their teeth. I recognize that this is a very strange jump cut, but I went to go edit the video and I realized I did not write out on this topic as hard as I should have. And it just needs to be said because nobody really talks about it. If you have a family member, like a parent or a grandparent that had to have glasses, then there's a good chance that you might need glasses. And nobody's going to shame you for that. Nobody's going to tell you that, you should have done X, Y, Z to prevent this. It's just accepted that sometimes, genetics play a role and you might end up needing glasses. The same thing with breast cancer, and they do screening for that now. If you have family members that had breast cancer, then they'll recommend genetic testing to see if you carry the gene that can cause breast cancer. Heart disease. My grandfather, his side of the family, they have heart disease, and a lot of them passed away really young because of it. And I know that with heart disease, there are things that you can do to prevent it, but sometimes no matter what you do, you're still going to end up with problems. You're still going to end up having to do like major diet changes that maybe your wife or husband don't have to do. You're going to end up on medication. Like, even after doing everything right, there are still situations where you could end up with some kind of illness. And this is not something that people are blamed for generally. But when it comes to a taboo thing, such as weight, right? Like, if somebody's overweight, it must be because they have a trash diet and they just don't exercise enough. And that is bullshit. It is bullshit, because I can tell you right now, no matter what I did when I was younger, I could not gain weight. It was like physically impossible. I was a beanpole. I had no fat, like no fat. And that wasn't the way that my younger sister was built. She was never overweight, but she had more meat on her bones than I did. And I used to try to bulk up and eat things that had like a high fat content because I was insecure about being thin. And you'll see that sometimes within a family, that everybody in the family is average build. but then there's one person that's eating all of the same food, that has the same activity levels, and they just can't lose weight. In fact, they're just gaining weight. And then they go to the doctor for help and they're just blamed for it. And I don't think it's always just laziness and that they just don't care. That's insane to say that, but they're doing it with teeth as well. We're told that, if the dentist can't identify what the problem is, if they can't pinpoint it to some kind of an autoimmune disease or medication or some other known factor for tooth decay and tooth loss, then what they're going to do is they're going to either A, tell you that you just didn't do a good enough job taking care of your teeth, or B, you probably are on drugs, but you don't want to say anything about it. And I think that is so wrong. Like, apparently we're not doing enough research into this to figure out why some people are predisposed to bad teeth, to tooth decay and all of that stuff. And instead of improving in that area and doing more research and finding out what the cause is and coming up with actual preventative measures aside from just like the standard that everybody has to do, brush your teeth, floss, and go to the dentist. Instead of doing those things, because that makes entirely too much sense, we're just going to go ahead and shame you for something that was just never within your control. Okay, so I'm going to resume the video. I think it's really important to address that and stop sweeping it under the rug. Stop denying that there's actually other things going on that are causing people with healthy teeth to lose their teeth seemingly out of nowhere. Why some people seem to have been born with teeth that were just never great from the beginning. Is there not enough funding for research? Like what's the holdup? It's 2021. Why are we still denying that this is an issue? It's so insulting as well when, you've been living in your body your whole life. You know your history better than anybody else does. But when you explain this to the dentist, for instance, I was scoffed at when I suggested that my decay was starting to get really out of control during my pregnancies. It's not something that anybody wants to accept, but it's something that a lot of us are experiencing. Yes, I absolutely do believe that some people have brought this on themselves by neglecting their teeth. I absolutely believe that some people ended up losing their teeth as a result of drug use. I believe that there are certain medications that can cause this. I understand that there are tons of explanations as to why people get cavities and why they end up losing their teeth and needing dentures, especially at a younger age than you would think that they would need them. But what I'm saying is that there is a large group of people who did everything right and still lost them. There's a large group of people that seem to be doomed from the very beginning. Can we talk about that? If you're one of those people that lost your teeth and still have no idea as to why it happened, leave a comment and share your story below. I'd really like to get a discussion going about this because it just seems that we're still accepting something that's kind of a big deal. I don't believe that one size fits all. I think that there are some situations that are far more complex than anybody's willing to admit, and I think that it's time that those in the dental community acknowledge that. So share your story below. Maybe you even have an answer that falls outside of the boundary of you didn't brush your teeth and you didn't see the dentist enough. I know that some autoimmune diseases can cause it. There's different things that can cause it. The only true health problem that I have is iron deficiency anemia. I go through periods where my iron just tanks. My hair starts to get brittle and it starts coming out in clumps. My lips get very dry and cracked and my mouth burns. And that could be because of lack of saliva. And maybe that could have caused the tooth decay. I just find it interesting that no doctor that I've ever saw has ever pointed that out to me. Nobody has ever made any connection because I've asked. So I'm eager to hear some of your stories. If you found this video at all helpful, make sure that you give it a like. And the best way to support my channel is to subscribe and hit the bell so that you get all of the notifications for when I post a new video. Thursdays are usually my Q&A. This is kind of outside of the norm, but I think that I've pretty much answered most of the questions that I've gotten recently, so I'm going to go ahead and let those build back up. If you have any questions that I haven't answered in a recent Q&A, make sure that you leave that in the comment section below as well. And I will see you guys on Monday, and y'all take care.